Meeting to order. We're in the Town Council chambers. It's May 9th, 2022. Roll call. Just state your name.
Okay. Tessina, Robert here.
Robert Rotalick here.
Gary Lafferty here.
Ken Demers here. Not present would be Rachel Ryan. Minutes. So we have minutes. Gary noticed that the date, recording date was wrong. We believe it's March 14th, 2022. That's item 3 on the minutes. So if somebody wants to make a motion to approve the minutes with that change, that would be great.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as corrected, March what?
14th.
14th, 2022.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public participation. All right. Correspondence, NA. Old business, item A, Buckingham Street, Ball Farm Road.
We do have an update on this one. On Friday morning, we had a Zoom meeting with FEMA. They had reached out to us. This thing was hanging out there for the last 6 or 7 months. So the bad news is FEMA does not have funding to give to the town for this project. On a positive note, he did ascertain more information on it. They wanted to try and understand exactly what we and the residents were experiencing, when it rains. And he said there may be other funding sources, and the FEMA representative that's based in Hartford is going to try to partner us up with some other funding opportunities and funding partners. I asked what he thought would be a reasonable time that we may hear a response, and he said it would move quicker than the first part. He had hoped within the next 60 days we may, get a response one way or another. But again, no guarantees. He did say that, but there were some other opportunities that may assist. So we just had that meeting Friday morning.
All right.
Through the chair, can I ask a question on this?
Sure.
Does anybody know, did they do any work themselves?
FEMA?
No, the homeowners.
A couple homeowners came in. One of them said he was going to. He had a Buckingham Street address, so he was a couple houses up. He was he was trying to solve the problem. He did say he spoke to a few of his neighbors, and unfortunately, some of the neighbors indicated that they didn't have the resources to contribute. But he was going to try and see if he could contact other neighbors that maybe collectively they could, try to do some maintenance. He was certainly doing maintenance on his part of it, the part of the drainage that went through his backyard. But yeah, he came in probably 6 weeks ago. We had a conversation with him.
I had a question.
Sure.
Yeah, Lou, in your Zoom meeting there, did you just have any pictures? They show any pictures to the FEMA?
No, I think Paul sent the pictures in with the initial application, back in the fall.
Yep.
And, they looked for, they just asked us for an explanation, and the assistant engineer, Joe Millette, is probably most familiar with it, having been here 30 years. He gave them a pretty thorough explanation of what was there and what the conditions were, and that large wood, i.e. trees, seemed to have gotten blocked and created an obstruction, and
Herm, anything? Next. Lou, I think that should just remain on the agenda because if in the event that there is no funding for these neighbors, I think we're going to have to do something.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would leave it there until we get closure one way or another. Hopefully it's in a positive fashion, but If it's not, then we'll have to locally determine what the next step is or isn't.
Thank you.
Yep.
Turkey Brook.
Turkey Brook, I'll address it now. I did ask Bob for a few speaking points tonight from the Highway Department. He hopes to be moving over there later this week or no later than the first part of next week. So, again, he knows what he had to do. When we talked about this 4 weeks ago, he was waiting for some drier weather. He was waiting to finish up sweeping, and he sent me an email today saying if all goes well, he'll be set up in there and working and dredging before the end of the week. So hopefully
Awesome.
we can knock that one off soon too.
Awesome. Any questions from? No, all right. New business, Echo Lake Road.
So discussion and possible funding sources for the emergency repairs. We've talked about this in the fall. It's that shoulder on the westbound lane of Echo Lake Road up there. As you guys know, washed out during one of the severe rainstorms we got last fall, late summer, fall. We did just put it to bid, and the bids, it closed on April 26th. The low bidder selected is $170,196. If you add a 20% contingency to that, it comes out to $204,235. I believe with the dollar amount, from speaking to Sue, that may require a public hearing. So I just wanted you, as a board, to be aware of it, and maybe, Ken, it's something that you would like to discuss at next Monday's meeting. I'm certainly going to send Mark a memo and ask for the appropriation to make that repair. It's something that has to be made. It's a major thoroughfare. I don't think we have any options.
Because
if-
the number's only 50,000, right?
If it were 50,000 or less, you wouldn't need a public hearing.
Right.
But when you go north of 50,000, you need a public hearing.
Yeah.
So, again, the bid itself is $170,196. You throw a 20% contingency on that, and it's $204,235. You know, just a brief description of the project. They're replacing like 760 feet of 24-inch pipe. They're putting in 3 catch basins, and then all the restoration that comes with that, your asphalt repair, your curbing. There's a piece of sidewalk that'll be disturbed. So it's a pretty large project. And again, because of its location, I don't really think we have a choice there. That needs to be repaired, put that road back together.
Through the chair. Wasn't this something that we were gonna try to see if we could do ourselves?
Initially, yeah, but when they cambered it out and seen the length of it, I don't think that's something we can do ourselves. I think it's better.
And what about, I thought there was something also that we're gonna look at to see if
There's-
we could
there's a
supply
cross-
the piping.
There's a cross culvert. We were gonna see, I guess initially last summer before I got here, a lot of people with the supply chain issues, we were gonna see if we could get the materials and maybe find a contractor to do it. And ultimately, we just decided to bid the whole thing, so. There is a potential second portion of that, which is the cross culvert below it, that I did put in a capital budget request. I believe it was year 2, but the capital budget hasn't even been looked at this point. I don't know if it will, but at some point in the future, we may be talking about the second leg of that project, so to speak.
I just had one question.
Sure, go ahead. Ken.
Now, was the road extended more further? I mean, originally it was seven something feet, and then you added more?
No, when they TV'd it or, inspected it, the pipe, about 760 feet.
Yeah.
It's old metal pipe, it just rotted out and settled, but that's the.
What are they gonna put in now?
They're gonna put in 24-inch plastic.
The corrugated, yeah.
Yep. So, hopefully, with the board's support, we'll get that done. Once the money's in place, it's probably, they said, the contractor said he can get started in July, and it's probably a 6-week project.
Any other questions? How about item B, Middlebury Road?
You have a question?
No,
item B.
item B, Middlebury Road.
So again, this is a drainage project. This was actually bid last spring. Bids were open last March or April. It was not awarded, I don't know why, and when I came here in the fall, I started questioning it, and I was told that they didn't have funding for it, but when I was putting the FY23 budget together and scouring through FY22, I found that it was funded. So, I guess in the interim between directors, it just fell through the cracks. I initially, at that point in the winter, reached out to the contractor that was low bidder, which was local, Stony Brook. The owner indicated that because of inflation and supply chain issues, he could no longer honor the price, which was $134,975. I guess the pipe alone had gone up some $8,000 or $9,000. So we were going to rebid that. When we bid Echo Lake, Stony Brook was the contractor I just discussed, so I asked him if he could tie them together. Since he was lowest responsible bidder on Echo Lake, I asked him if he thought he could take a look at Middlebury Road again and see if he can do both of them. He said he found another supplier and the pipe was more affordable, so he's going to honor the bid price from last year and do both of them. So we're already working on a contract for Middlebury Road because that money's in place, and hopefully he'll be getting the contract for the second one. That one again, it's installation of about 523 linear feet. That's an 18-inch ADS pipe and 7 catch basins, and that'll be on Vale Road off of Middlebury Road, and there's a lot of properties there that are impacted. This is a great project. It'll help a lot of families out. There's ice and water in the road continually, so.
Yeah, I travel that road.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get that one moving. I'd like to get them both going.
Does anybody have any questions for Lou on Middlebury? Is there, I just have a quick question. Does are they sticking to the 134.9 because they plan on getting the 170 or the 205? Is that the deal?
Yeah, no. When he took a look at it, when him and I talked, when he was being considered for, I asked him if he could take a second look at it, and his initial response was, "I'm not sure. I know the pipe went up 8,000 or so," and he said, but he did just recently start doing business with a new company, so he said he would look at it. He told me to give him a day or two, and he'd look at the numbers and see what he can do it for. And he called me back like 2 days later, and he said, "Lou," he goes, "I'm not going to say the pipe didn't go up at all with the new vendor, but it's not 8,000." He goes, "I'm excited. I'll do both jobs. I'll honor the price." So he honored the bid price of last year.
Okay, and that has nothing to do with
Yeah,
it.
so no increase.
Okay,
So it's good.
awesome. Main Street Safety Improvement Project.
This is a good one. So as you were aware, we spoke about it several times. We got the steep grant, the 128 in the town match. While there's been a little bit of progress on the flashing beacons in the small portion of that, we were hoping to tie it to something bigger. We did have a meeting about a month ago with Father, I forget his first name now, Father Tony from St. John's, I believe, and we discussed potentially relocating the retaining wall to make way for a sidewalk. He was amenable with some concerns. Right after that, the town manager received an email from Johanna Hayes' office about some potential funding sources for infrastructure improvement projects, and I submitted a grant a few weeks ago. And again, while we have no guarantees, we did get a call back from one of her staff and said that Congresswoman Hayes really liked the project, the concept we submitted, which was new sidewalks, bump outs, center islands, new sidewalks, new street lamp posts, all kinds of safety features. which if we're gonna do the bigger picture, it doesn't make sense to move on the smaller one, because you'd have to rip up the ground again and redo the conduit, so the committee is meeting this week or next, and with any luck, hopefully some funding comes there. We did estimate the project at about $4 million, and if it's an 80/20, you're looking at, $3.2 million.
The grant money would be 3.2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on there, we discussed the objective of purchasing some land to add a municipal parking lot. So we put the whole plan there. We only had 2 days to get the application in, which I got in on time a couple weeks ago. Mr. Ramo and I took a walk on Main Street. We needed some letters from businesses that would be impacted by it. We were able to get letters from several business owners on the street that were really excited about the project. So again, hopefully, let's hope that it looks on favorably. In addition to that, there was a second, there's a lot of infrastructure money that's going to be coming available through the state and federal funds. We were also, another state office reached out to us, and I submitted this one in duplicate, and with the intent that if one of them approves it, we'll withdraw the second application.
Oh, nice.
And in addition to that, Vinnie Caterino from Water and Sewer and I talked about potentially extending a public water line out by Hamilton Avenue, Old Beard Road, around the transfer station. That's about a $3 million project. So we submitted that as well as a second project with the other source. We do a lot of, there's a lot of environmental monitoring associated with that area because of the capped landfill, and we do quarterly well reports for about 12 residential property owners there. We maintain, water systems to keep everything good, so that'd be a great project too if we could get them to approve that. And again, there's other funding sources for that one. We're working on getting the permit renewed up there, a 10-year permit for the landfill. And the consultant and the DEEP I've been working with, there's some other potential funding sources just for that, water lines around a capped landfill. So the first shot at it, Vinnie and I have been talking about, we're submitting it to the state now. If hopefully it comes back favorably, but if not, there's some other potential opportunities to go after with respect to the water line in that area. So we're going to keep throwing them in.
Through the chair. Sure. For the Main Street safety project that you were talking about, is this the drawings that you showed us that time?
Yeah.
The slow down areas, moving
Yeah.
parking to one side of the road?
Hemingway Park, I
Yeah.
think, was one side.
So what we filled the application out was for the big picture, everything included. The one way on, Hemingway Park Road, angled parking, raised center islands, bump outs on the sidewalks where, at the beginning and end of every block, it says no parking here at the corner. Well, we would just construct raise it up so you couldn't park there. What it does is it makes the pedestrians walk across the street that much shorter. If you bump those out 8 or 10 feet on each side,
Yeah.
now they're obviously 16 or 20 less feet, feet to cross.
Right.
And with the center islands, it forces cars to slow down. It gets narrow.
Desperately needed.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about timeframes, because my timeframes and timeframes of
Yep.
construction projects in the town are two totally different things.
Yes.
So if we did receive money from this grant from Joanna Hayes,
Yep.
what are we actually talking about at completion time?
Great question. So one of the questions on the application was, could you commit these funds within 12 months? So commit doesn't mean work complete. Commit means, we'd have to get state approval because it's a state right away,
Right.
which we would have to expedite. And I'm sure if we, emphasize the importance of it, we could probably get some cooperation from the state. But we'd have to go through the permitting phase. We'd have to go through design and bid and just pretty much award it to a contractor. Tied into that is the STEEP grant, which is supposed to be spent by next May. However, you can apply for an extension, and I think if the next part of it comes to fruition, that's a valid, extension, we'll just tie it all together. So, it's good that they're meeting in the next week or two. If we were to get good news, like I said, that was one of the reasons that her assistant called back saying, could you commit the funds in 12 months? Congresswoman loves this project. And I said, I'll drop everything else we're doing and make this obviously a priority if we could get that kind of grant funding.
Well, through the chair again, I think this needs to be one of the priorities of the town. We had somebody killed on Main Street.
That
We've
was
had
in the
somebody else
application.
hit by a car, and you pull out of any of these streets or try to get into your car on Main Street, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I believe it was something that the town council wanted to push forward quickly too.
Yeah.
So, so I think.
That was
it's
all
definitely
all of that was articulated in the grant application, the unfortunate events of 2016 and 2018. And, that we really emphasized the safety. We emphasized economic development, stimulus to the small private owned businesses. We just put it all in there.
Right. And through the chair again, I request, because Herb DeCina is on the police commission, that he brings back to the police commission that we really should be doing something on Main Street, again, to be slowing the traffic down. It's summertime again, and to make it safe for the residents.
Excellent comments. Through the chair.
Sure.
This seems very redundant to me, because this Main Street safety audit began that Mark sat on. I sat on it at the beginning of your time in the council. We were at meetings. This Mr. Ciriello, very astute, the traffic engineer.
He's aware.
Yeah, very good man.
Yep.
He met with us at meetings, and then it became into a stall almost become. How much money were we gonna provide the town of Watertown as opposed to state funding?
Yeah.
And the beacons, the lights, and even now, the problem areas have changed. It used to be up north, for example, the Red Door, the old town hall, no longer existed. There's a new restaurant there, obviously, and then also, we're talking 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Mr. Angelo, the owner of the movie theater, was hit and killed. When the owner of the Rock Garden's mother was hit, we're going back to 2016. Is this gonna be assimilated to the Main Street audit or what?
So
Good point, please.
if the grant is looked upon favorably, we're gonna expedite it, we're gonna get permits, we'll advertise it, and, hopefully have some contractor, locked in within 12 months. If not, then we're gonna move forward with the steep grant and get that portion of it that the funding's already in place for by next, spring, summer, before the deadline in May. We probably won't ask for an extension at that point. We were just trying to tie it all together to the larger picture and get it all done. Because like I said, if you do those improvements and down the road you find a supplemental or a bigger funding source, now you're kind of deconstructing something that you just, the steep grant we wasted money. We're trying to not waste that $256,000, but get more money to couple it with and do the whole thing.
Through the chair.
Sure.
Would you think so, then, that Representative Hayes, this is her way of providing some infrastructure funds to another town in her district, not necessarily a town such as Waterbury, a city, or Naugatuck, they're getting a lot of infrastructure funds.
Yeah.
Would this be the one from her to us?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I mean, I'm sure that there was quite a bit of people that submitted applications. You get any town, any municipality that gets an opportunity to get funding, I'm sure it moves quickly. But again, I think we were somewhat encouraged by the staff calling us back and saying, could you commit the funds in 12 months? She really likes this project. I think, again, no guarantees, but
Right.
we got to feel good about that. We made the short list anyways, So,
Gary had a question?
You talk about the Main Street safety thing. I'm not sure how long, if it's been like a year now, from Echo Lake Road right up to the old Rock Garden. There's street lights that have been out, and people said they call the town, they call Eversource, and they seem to get nowhere.
I sent them into Eversource,
Yeah.
just a couple weeks ago, so I'll check on
And
that.
I asked the town manager a week or so ago, and he says, are they our lights, or are they the Eversource? And I said, I don't know how you can tell the
Yeah.
difference, but, you know.
Someone called those in a few weeks back, 3-4 weeks ago, and I did, send an email to Eversource, so I'll check on that if they're not still on.
Yeah, I know.
And I
last week-
actually, along that line, I did, with, Chief Berniger, ask him if he could have staff do like a street light check
Yeah.
for me, and, he agreed to do something quarterly, so, once every 3 months when his staff is driving around, they'll go out and forward to us any that they find out, and I asked for, same thing Eversource will ask for when we call it in, you know, a physical address, a street pole number, nearest cross street. So he agreed. I actually, was hoping to do it once a month, but he talked to his night staff, and they're gonna start with doing it quarterly for us. And, because the problem with that is if a resident doesn't call it into us and we're not aware of it, we're paying the bill every month. They charge us X amount of dollars per month per fixture. It's not metered. So if there's a light or 2 or 10 throughout the town that are out that we don't know about, number one, we're compromising our safety, but number two, we're actually paying for a service that we're not receiving. So I did have a conversation with the chief a few weeks back, and he agreed to do that on a quarterly basis to start.
Sure.
Can I make a request?
Sure.
Look, the police commission meeting is Wednesday night, excuse me, 2 days hence. I plan on attending this one. And it's gonna be a live meeting. The chair will be there, the vice chair. Richie Antonetti, Dave Giannetti, all involved in the Main Street safety plans going back 5-6 years. Is there a way somehow, Lou, that the minutes of this meeting now, I know it's only 2 days away, if the recording secretary here tonight could somehow send them to me by my town email so I could have them that night to present? Because it's like, who are we gonna get input from? Are we gonna get input from the PD? Then yet, what about the fire department? At one point, the state's initial plan, remember we said at that meeting, they were gonna have one-way Depot Street coming in from Main Street. It would be like a funnel of traffic going north and south, and where would they go? They'd end up at Front Street, create
Yeah.
another problem there.
Yeah.
This original audit study was done by the state of Connecticut.
Yep.
And they had no idea. And I think now, in fact, the plan of making the Main Street, one side of the street parking was the original plan by the manager when he first was sitting on that.
Yeah.
And we did a survey ourselves several weeks ago at night. And I think the big problem is people have no idea of mid-block crosswalks. There's really no such thing as a mid-block crosswalk. It's just like random.
Right.
Let's put a crosswalk, it used to be, right where the red door is, and you can't put beacons there.
Yeah.
I'd just like to make one comment and give Herm something else to take to the police commission, but I'm not clear on how it actually works, but you have a crosswalk, and then you have these arrows on the sides that people constantly park on. I mean, does anybody ever get a ticket for that?
Through the chair again.
Yeah, go ahead.
In response, back when those pedestrian safety zones were first put in effect from the onset of the study, going back to, I'd say, 2018, right before I departed from my previous job, we made it a point that if anybody parked within the confines, that's considered blocking or obstructing a crosswalk. And a ticket, I don't want to say, use the term, tickets were given out at a point of 150 one month, over 100 the next month, and that was educational enforcement. And who was getting the tickets?
Business owner.
People that were patronizing the establishments that initially, the taverns, the
I get that, but like
and then we
you
slowed that down. Go ahead.
you keep referring to two people dying on Main Street, so keep giving tickets, because I don't think, I mean, I frequent downtown often, and I went to Fino a couple of nights ago, and I literally parked in front of the hairdresser or whatever's there because I had got far enough away from those little arrows, because I know what they mean. And people should get tickets. I don't care what store they're in.
Yeah.
At least until this project's complete. I think if you gave enough people tickets, I think people would talk about it, and maybe some of it would get, you're never gonna make it perfect. However, that's why people are dying. People are too close to those crosswalks, and you can't, someone walks out between two cars.
You can't, right,
You can't see them. I find myself moving a little too fast once in a while.
Yeah.
But it just relay the message, Herb.
Yes, will do. Yes. Anything on, oh, excuse me again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anything about possibly getting some minutes from tonight?
I'll do my best. Danielle was under the weather today. Hopefully she's back tomorrow, but we'll do our best to get minutes to you.
2 days hence.
If they're done and we'll make a full court press, I'll get them to you by Wednesday afternoon.
And I think furthermore, Ken?
Sure.
I think unfortunately when this began, it was like, was it the police commission going for the improvements for safety? Was it the public works department? It became a possessive type thing.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
by the, I don't want to use the term, bumping of heads, this is going back 4 or 5 years, and we're still where we are right now.
I think now you got a collaborative team effort. One of the letters that we got to support this project was from Chief Berniger. So I think we all put our heads together and you know, put our efforts together, and hopefully there's one objective, you know, that's to improve it, make it first and foremost safer, and then if we could improve the aesthetics and, you know, help the small businesses, that's fantastic. But I think now you had certainly a couple department heads and the town manager all made a full court press to get that application in the 2 days. We had 48 hours. It was the day after Easter. Mark got it actually that Thursday before Easter. I was at a seminar, and he said, I saw the email from him, check this out on Monday. So on Monday, I get in here, and it was due Wednesday at 2 o'clock. So it was a busy 48 hours, but we got it in.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? All right. Engineering department update.
So I had a meeting the other day with engineering staff. We're soliciting proposals to do some paving this spring. We have some money, not a lot, but we're targeting Lilac, Turner, Happy, off of Falls Avenue and Sunnyside. There's a little neighborhood in there. So we got a couple contractors working on proposals for us. I'm also gonna, there's money in the budget for Hungerford, which is probably the worst or one of the worst roads in town. It's not, I see two figures. We got $165,000 already allocated. And then I was told that if we wanted to totally reconstruct it and redo the drainage, it's like 1.4 million. So while I'm not optimistic that we're gonna get 1.4 million in the short term, I am getting proposals to potentially resurface it, and I would have to wait for water and sewer to go out and do a little work there first. But with that said, we had, I know the last few years, my predecessor got a bid waiver to do paving. Mr. Cochiola was in here looking for work. I told him to put a proposal together, and if he's competitive with state bid, that's great. And if not, I'm going to put them side by side just to make sure I know what we're getting. Town engineer also informed me that he's authorized the release of a bond for $3,135.40 for the Woodruff Corner subdivision, which is up above the post office. He went out and did an inspection, and he said the developer met all of the conditions as far as he can tell, so he's releasing that bond. Update from Highway. I was informed today by our highway superintendent that our street sweeping program will be complete tomorrow afternoon. I had set a goal of Memorial Day, and I'm happy to report that we are well out in front of that. He's sending out a patch truck every day. There's an awful lot of potholes and patching to be done in town. And he's out there every day working towards accomplishing that. He's also got some sectional sidewalk repair being done around town. If you drive up on Bunker Hill Avenue by the town line, we excavated out a little stretch to extend the sidewalk. There was an agreement between Watertown and the city of Waterbury that they were gonna extend that sidewalk down a lot further. At this point, Waterbury isn't sure if they're gonna complete it, but we made a commitment to extend it to the town line, which it was only about 24 feet short. So we're completing that because, again, it was something that there was grant money available for, and should we renege on our portion of it, we dry up that funding source in the future. So that's excavated out now. Mr. Grand Prix also found some bad sections on Mount Fair Drive that we removed, and later this week, when we have enough for a whole concrete truck worth, we're going to be replacing all of that. And after that, we'll be doing some curbing repairs and lawn repairs from the winter, and he has some work to be completed at the dog park, a rain garden, and filling in some low spots under the fence. And that's about all I have to report from the highway perspective.
Any questions?
Through the chair again?
Sure.
Lou, unfortunately, it's well-intended. Before your time sitting here instead of in Waterbury, where the jogger was killed from Waterbury running into Watertown, where the town lines do meet, Bunker Hill Avenue, Bunker Hill Road, right there. I met there in my previous capacity with Paul Bunovich, was working for the city of Waterbury then. Roy Kavanaugh, and that was, proposal was made then. They would pay for part of this funding, we would pay for the other, the sidewalks would make a safety zone for not only pedestrians going from Watertown into Waterbury, more importantly, using the sidewalk to get to the 10-acre mall area.
Yep.
The former 10-acre mall. The business district on Straits Turnpike, I think that was 2008 or 2009. So we're back at that again. I'm just bringing that up as.
Well, we're completing our stretch of it, and what Waterbury,
It is.
so it'll go all the way from the shopping plaza to where it is now, plus 24 feet. And attorney,
Put a sign right at the end.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting Watertown.
Which is good.
I thought it was, I scratched my head myself, but when Attorney Jessel explained that if we failed to complete what we had agreed to, it could dry up, grant funding sources from, so
Sure.
we're not gonna, cut ourselves short moving forward, so to speak.
I have one question.
Sure.
Chair, if I may. So you talked about through the next budget and things about not having a lot of money for doing streets over. And I know that we had talked in this subcommittee in the past about your
Pavement management analysis.
paving management analysis, thank you. So assuming the budget does pass and you get this, how long is that gonna take to get that analysis of Watertown done?
So from speaking with Mr. Ramo, I guess the council, the town council agreed to pay for certain items out of the ARPA money,
Yes,
and the pavement management analysis was one. So he said there's a potential that that money will be available sometime in May. And if that's the case, hopefully, we'll get a firm selected. After we award it to someone, it's probably a 60-day turnaround. So if we could get someone awarded that work into May, sometime in June, before the end of the summer, maybe July or August, we could get a report back to us, which will come complete with the presentation at a council meeting. And they'll break it down, this is how many dollars it would take to pave every road if you could do it all at once. This is how much you should be allocating annually to remain status quo. This is how much you should be allocating every year to see an improvement over the next 10 or 20 years. But I hope to, I thought we were gonna have to wait till July 1st to start that process, but Mark has indicated that since it's coming out of ARPA, and I don't think it has anything to do with the budget referendum, that we may be able to get started a little sooner.
So do you know how long it should take them to complete a project?
Yeah, I mean, if we award it to them, it's gonna take them probably a couple weeks to prepare to get here, probably a couple weeks. They'll send 2 or 3 or 4 people in town, a few weeks of collecting data. It's probably, they said, you know, about a 60-day turnaround from, here's your purchase order,
That's fair.
yeah, so.
Anyone else? Sure, you good? You sure? All right.
I was thinking,
All right. Lou, do you have anything to add, or you?
No, that's all I have. And again, you know, as far as transfers and appropriations, when I get some numbers back on the roads we did, are waiting proposals on from pavement contractors, I'll probably look to close out some of these other projects that had a small balance and put it into paving to try and stretch those dollars out until we get that report done and maybe hopefully put a plan in place.
All right. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.